Being a designer or a developer can feel overwhelming, especially when you compare yourself to others, which you're going to do, and which you should do, because comparing your own work to better work is one of the best ways you can improve. But when you get demotivated and you start to feel bad about how much better someone else's work is, that is when comparing yourself to others becomes a negative experience. And when you visit websites like Awwwards to find inspiration, and you're met with all of these beautifully designed and beautifully built websites, you feel even worse. Well, you really shouldn't, for several reasons. Before we get into that, let us just define what the role of design is in under 10 seconds. In general, design is supposed to solve problems and efficiently present information. It is meant to help guide users and make them feel more connected to the brand. Now, you can get really philosophical about this, but most clients only really care about one thing: results. Results for things like branding can be really difficult to track. But we can track results on a website. And I also feel that websites are, in a way, the pinnacle of design. Because you have to connect and present so many different aspects of the brand, such varied content, in a way that makes sense and that looks good. So that brings me back to Awwwards. Websites featured on Awwwards definitely get the looking good part right. They are memorable, especially if you see the style most of them share for the first time, and they are usually very nice to look at. But most of them don't solve problems well. And often, what makes them special actually creates several problems that would be really easy to fix if the website cared a little bit more about the user experience and a little less about trying to be exciting. My experience going through Awwwards is mostly I click on a website. I'm very impressed by the cool looking design and by the technical side, mostly the animations. I think about how much code it took to get it to look and work the way it does, and then as I go through it, I start to get annoyed. I get annoyed because I have a difficult time navigating things, the control over my scrolling is taken away from me, I can't really find what I need to. Everything feels slow because it has so many fancy animations. It might even load slow, which is a big no-no for both users and search engines. It is just a bad experience, but a whole lot of visual eye candy. If you're having a good experience watching this, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a whole lot. To be fair, many of these websites are brochure websites, which are pretty much strictly informative, or they are intended to show off a single product or service, like some kind of interactive commercial. So this kind of flashy style does work in some cases, keyword some. But it's very likely your customers are not looking for that. Now, speaking of customers, of course, a lot of these websites don't even have customers. They are personal portfolios of designers showing their work, or they are a portfolio piece. Often they are actually the work of a large agency just showing off what they can do, not necessarily what they actually do for their clients. They exist just to exist. They exist in a vacuum. They are not real. And because they are not real, they don't care about solving real issues, like how to get clients to convert, how to make using the website easy for users, how to rank high on Google, and so on. But what is very real is you feeling like your projects are worse when you see websites that look amazing. But you're rarely gonna see a website that has anything more than just the very basic functionalities that looks or functions like those websites. And when it comes to online stores, you would have to absolutely not care about your conversion rate at all to follow the trends you see on Awwwards. Which brings me to my main point. If you are working for clients, you are working to get results. And to get results, flashy animations and a bad user experience are counterproductive. And if I know anything about user experience at all, it is that the simpler things are, the better. That is just basic logic. So your clients in general will not want or need this style of website, which means you're not getting challenged in that way, which means you can't really improve towards reaching that style. Not to mention that a big part of what makes these websites special is the animations. These animations take a lot of custom code, a lot of development, and if you can't develop that, your website by default is gonna look and feel more boring, because it's missing the wow factor that makes these websites special. Plus, your clients often won't want to pay for the amount of custom code needed, because again, it will likely bring in worse results, but it will cost a whole lot more. Another thing is you are limited limited by the content. If you can control the content and adapt it completely to the design, it is much easier to design things that look great. It's why these websites and portfolio pieces on Dribbble and Behance and other portfolio websites look so good. Because the pictures and the icons and the animations are not of actual products or services. They are things that are only there because they enhance the design and the design revolves around them. So once you factor all of these in, your clients want results. Your clients often are not going to want to pay more just to have cool animations, and the content is something they provide, not you. It is easy to see why your websites might feel like they look worse. But as long as your websites do the job well, they inform the user, they guide the user, they convert well, they fit the brand, and yes, of course, they look good as well, that is all that matters. There is, of course, a balance where adding in an animation, adding in some custom code, making things a little bit more unique and interesting is definitely an added bonus. But in general, you don't need fancy scrolling. You don't need insanely good animations. Things like Awwwards are like high fashion. Nobody is actually wearing the things you see in those fashion shows in their everyday life. It is just not practical. It just doesn't work. But it can serve as inspiration. Just like Awwwards can serve as inspiration, as cool ideas for things you can implement on your websites. And they push the progress and the creativity of the design world forward, which is important. But in doing so, they introduce a lot of things that just don't work in real life. Digital real life. They definitely should not be your end goal, because most of the websites featured there are very rarely actually usable. So take what you can from them. Get ideas, get layout inspiration, but don't feel bad because your designs don't look like they do. Not reaching that standard does not represent your ability to deliver high quality work to your clients. Being a good designer, being a good developer is about finding solutions to problems and creating high quality work, even if your client has bad taste, or even if the content just does not look good. You have to navigate those constraints, you have to navigate those limitations, and do the best you can with what you're given. And it is unfair to yourself to compare that with a design that is not limited by clients, not limited by the content, and not limited by the amount of resources it takes to develop. What is also unfair to yourself is not checking out this video next. If you found this one interesting, you're gonna find that one very interesting as well. Also, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Thank you for watching.